Hello there, shiny new listeners. I'm beyond appreciative that you decided to join into this exciting online event, the Tattoo Sisterhood Revolution. I'm your host, Shelly Dax, and I appreciate your decision to spend time in this space as I know everyone is busy. Obviously, there must have been something about that title that you were attracted to. I'm going to guess that you are either interested in getting into tattooing and you haven't figured out how, or you're already tattooing and want to find ways to uplevel your career and get connected with other inclusive artists. Or perhaps you've struggled through a crummy apprenticeship and still feel like you have a long way to go. Well, the good news is there is a collective of radiant tattoo artists and creatives who actually enjoy supporting each other. And many of them are featured here in this interview series. These incredible 25 speakers who've generously given their time actually want to give a hand up to the newcomers and those people who are longing to create a career doing art that they love. So I'm going to say, lucky you, because there's a lot of amazing people here. So here we are at day one. And for today, I'm actually going to share a little bit about who I am, how I got here, and why I decided to create this event. Back in no, I'm just kidding. I won't go back that far. but all my life, I was a bit of a black sheep. I didn't like to conform, and I hated being told what to do. I always wanted to sing and act and draw, write, and create things. That's what I spent my whole childhood doing and teen years. I always felt different though, like nobody could understand my mystical internal world. And I just wanted people to be happy and to get along. I identified with the character of Pollyanna. For those who don't know that story, she's a little orphan girl who comes to live with her grouchy old aunt and brings an array of sunny disposition and helps transform a whole town with her positive way of looking at life. So people have called me Pollyanna many times, trying to be insulting and shame me for having an uplifting and positive outlook. And it used to make me feel bad. But I decided to fully embrace this personal quality. And I sought out mentors and teachers who encouraged following your heart, following your soul, being yourself, and being a light in the world. So I am given to random bouts of cheeriness and exuberance, and heck, I'm totally fine with that now. So I was also always interested in being my own boss. From a young age, I could never see myself being told what to do. You could ask my mom. I had a few assorted jobs, but projects and creativity kept calling me. And I got totally involved in theater, and I even dragged my kids into it. I loved all the aspects of putting on a production, from costumes to scenic painting, acting, directing, and singing. I was a singer from a young age. I always loved to sing, and I was in choir. So art was always a huge thing in my life. But over the years, I also had a few different little businesses, from a French fry stand called Zipper Chips to a house cleaning business. And between everything I did, there was always art. There was always art, like singing, painting, drawing, writing, all of it. But because I kind of just lived sort of like a project lifestyle, like a gig lifestyle, I guess, I felt the pressure financially of my freelanciness, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I just didn't want no stinking real job, even if that meant not ever being wealthy. What I didn't know at the time is that I had a pretty solid belief that there's no money in art, which was installed by parents, grandparents, and society in general. But at one point, I was fortunate enough to be hired for some youth art projects through my local arts council. And the pay was better than anything I had seen up to that point. So for the first time in my life, I actually started calling myself an artist. It was reluctant at first, but I did. I still wasn't sure of my path, because I just had so many things going on. So I decided to go back to school. That was a wonderfully fun experience for several years. And I was able to take a ton of art, writing, and theater classes, which were amazing. But I was trying to be serious and studied arts administration. That was the goal. That was the serious part, figuring that this was the only way I'd stay connected to art and still make a living. But then tattooing came into my consciousness. I was enamored and interested and started trying to figure out how to learn, and realized in the midst of that it was going to be more challenging than I had thought, because in the state that I live in, you have to go to tattoo school. And so I decided in the midst of that to drop out of college and go to tattoo school. And people thought I was absolutely nuts. Yep, they did. I was sort of like the organized, great administrator girl, the director girl, woman, whatever. And people just couldn't believe that I was doing something that sounded so crazy. And of course, back then and even now to this day, there's still people who still think of tattooing as something like rough and tough and, like for bikers or whatever. You probably all realize that. And I'm not going to say all tattoo schools are a great idea, because even though they are regulated in the state where I live and several other states in the United States anyway, my experience 14 plus years ago was not good, as tattoo schools were a new thing still. I was treated poorly. The instructor in charge of my class was a serious, egotistical, misogynistic jerk. He had centerfolds hanging up all over his tattoo station, and his nickname was Creeper. And I'll tell you, that was appropriate for this guy because he would make sexual jokes constantly. He still was fully immersed in the old hazing being necessary attitude, even though we were in a licensed school paying a lot of money to learn. Don't even get me started on what they called curriculum. It was a joke. I just kept my head down and gritted my teeth to get through that. It was not so great. Well, fortunately, as a side note, regulations regarding tattoo schools in Oregon were completely revamped around 2012. So things got much stricter and much better for most people. But anyway, when I left there, I never looked back or talked to one of those artists again, just because it was such a bad experience. I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I decided to open my own little studio, which was against all advice. So I was alone. Very hard. My experience left me in a frustrating struggle to up-level my tattoo skills. And I fought with my coil machine on a daily basis. I'm just not mechanically inclined. So that was a struggle. I inched my way forward in lining and shading skill. And I hate to think, back in some of those days and how hard it was internally, when I was realizing like, I just don't know how to get better at this. I sat in the back of a room of my studio and cried with frustration regarding the lack of information that was available. I wanted to learn so badly, but it was so hit and miss at first. So I decided that maybe I should go to tattoo conventions because then at least I could take workshops. And I'd been to conventions before. My mom was an artist and, I went to conventions with her a lot. So I thought I knew what I was in for, but I was armed with a colorful banner, balloons, and candy. And I arrived to a sea of black, black tablecloths, black curtains, black banners, black t-shirts. I pretty instantly knew that I didn't quite fit in. And it was especially driven home when some snarky person came up to my booth and said, "You're the fluffy tattooer, aren't you?" Anyway, that was rude. And on top of all that, the 2008 recession hit, and suddenly people could barely afford to get tattoos. I hit bottom financially and ended up moving in with my sister in her garage to save my studio rather than getting a real job. See that stubbornness and determination there? And she had 5 kids, just saying. Ah. During this time, I did a ton of reading. I'm pretty much a personal development junkie. I meditated, I walked, I regrouped. And I got into a business class. I secured a business grant and a loan. I began taking art fundamental classes and all the free stuff I could get my hands on. A few more tattoo workshops, and my mindset started to shift. I realized that I didn't need to do it like them. Like I was trying so hard to fit in, and I realized I didn't need to. I didn't have to. I could completely create something different. Well, of course, it made it really hard since I wasn't, there wasn't anyone else supporting me or doing something like that at the time. I didn't know anyone who was doing it differently. And I thought everyone was going to conventions and wearing black and reading tattoo magazines and listening to hardcore music and acting like a rock star toward their clients. I hated all of that. And I stayed out of the mainstream and I kept to myself, and I just tried to build up my own business and my own clientele. I despise the tattoo magazines, especially. People would say, why don't you just look at magazines? But no, they all looked like softcore pornography. I looked around and I saw women perceived as objects to sell products or something. And also, heard the litany of women aren't as capable of tattooing and things like that. And they were being seen as a receptionist when when a client walks into a tattoo shop, or maybe they were the shop bitch. Ouch, I wanted to attract clients that were interested in a transformative experience. Um, just like comfortable and colorful and friendly. And so that's what I tried to create. I guess you could ultimately say more of a feminine sort of comfort zone. Yeah, I mean, people said that it was amazing when they'd come into my shop, how comfortable, I mean, after a while, it took me a little while to get there, but how comfortable they felt when they came in. And that just let me up. I was so happy about that. Because of all of this stuff that I went through, I damn well was motivated to make my studio different. And anyway, this led me to the decision to begin my own tattoo school. I had somebody kind of bug me and ask me if I would teach them. And then I started to look into that. Had no idea how much work that was going to take. And it took a few years and a lot of red tape. But I just knew somewhere inside that I could do a better job than what I'd seen. And I wanted to train others in a kinder, more respectful way. So sort of like to pave the way for interested people to come into the industry and expect support and open-mindedness, despite the way things have been seen over the years, and the hazing and the bullying culture kind of. So despite all of that backlash, and some dismissive attitudes that I've encountered, I wanted to have the most professional and caring atmosphere that I possibly could. I'm absolutely thrilled that I've met some incredible artists who've done their own thing. Through doing this event, I've interviewed and met some incredible people, and a lot of them actually taught themselves too. Whether motivated by a bad apprenticeship or having to teach themselves because they couldn't find anyone willing to train them. These capable, determined women, and some awesome men too, have shaped their own unique tattoo careers despite the harsh beginnings, or despite the terrible lack of education, or because maybe they were trained in fine arts or they got an arts degree and they could see that tattooing is another art form that can be taught without intimidation or exploitation that's completely unnecessary. So being passionate about helping people get a better education is what motivated me to develop a professional curriculum. So I wrote the tattoo textbook because I saw a tremendous lack of resources for newcomers to the industry. And even as I was trying to put together a solid foundational training for my own students, I realized there was nothing like this. There just absolutely nothing. There were books. There were tons of books, like flash books and art books, and there was a few instructional books, but not very good. Poorly written, poorly put together. I would have to shout out to Guy Aitchison, though, because he put together an amazing book, but it was more geared towards people who'd already been tattooing. And my goal was to really, look at the basics and what people need as beginners. So yes, now in this point of time, there are loads of videos online that people can sort through and piece together information. but I wanted to provide the crucial basic information, particularly to make beginning tattooers safer in their approach. And having 8 years plus experience now teaching my own students, that's made me hone my own information. And I've grown tremendously myself. I would have loved having a book like this when I first started out, and I was crying in my studio because I was so frustrated because I wanted to learn so bad. Though I'm a big advocate of having a tattoo mentor, many people have faced the unfortunate circumstance of not having that offered to them. And in some cases, simply because they're a woman or a person of color or transgendered or maybe disabled or fat or older in age. And that's just so not cool anymore. I mean, it never should have been. I've gotten a negative and angry feedback. I've heard things like, just from owning a tattoo school and also writing a book, I've heard things like, "You're teaching scratchers," which is totally untrue. Or, "You mock our tattoo culture," or, "You sell our trade secrets," or, "You should be deeply ashamed of yourself. You're destroying the tattoo industry." Holy WTF, really? Because I am working hard to provide a professional education because I want to see our industry grow and evolve. I really believe things need to change. And these kind of ignorant comments are proof. I want to continue to educate, inspire, and illuminate the industry to help bring it out of the dark ages and make it more inclusive, open, equal, classy. I, I just think that the days of the old school hazing culture need to die. That doesn't mean that there isn't a rich and wonderful history that can be studied and respected, but the folks who say that this who say this and they're claiming some kind of right over the tattoo culture, they're not even the people who started with. It was indigenous peoples that began the tradition of tattooing. So this is just very strange to me. But here I am. I'm doing my thing, and I'm just delighted to be involved in this event and with so many other people. These wonderful people, I've been absolutely blessed. And I'm writing I'm writing another book when I'm all done here. And I'm going to include the stories of a lot of these people too, because it's just incredible what they've been through and how wonderful and how talented they are and how they've shaped their careers. I'm just so impressed. And hey, I will continue on my merry way, doing what my soul directs me to do, and hope that the folks who would like to see a gentler, more inclusive side to tattooing are excited about having these conversations of change, because kindness matters. The message is spreading. Respect and diversity is now in fashion. So I'm going to get a sip of water. And then before I leave you today, I'm going to give you my 5 top tips that got me through those difficult early years of tattooing. So number 1, I would say, don't take anything personally. Easier said than done, but knowing who you are, being confident in your own direction, and letting discouraging things said by clients or friends or haters just roll off. Just don't let them stick. Of course, you can feel the emotion and the pain of whatever discouraging things happen to you, but just don't let it stick. Feel it, go through it, move through it. Don't take it personally, and move on. And number 2, I'd say, lean into the discomfort of not knowing how. Because in the beginning, there are so many people who just want to be good overnight. They just want to hurry up. They judge themselves so harshly. But remember, starting any new thing is going to require a lot of patience and commitment, as well as practice and time. You won't be a master tattooer overnight or even in the first few years. So give yourself a break and try and choose clients who will be understanding of your novice skills. I think that's really important. Number 3, set some healthy boundaries. Boundaries are rooted in self-love, and they protect your happiness and they protect others as well. But you have to think about them and you have to set them for yourself. You know, how much energy are you willing to put into that? Fussy, complaining person? Set a limit. Balance your work and self-care, because sleep, healthy food, and water and movement are all crucial to advancing your skills. You really need to take care of yourself too. And number 4, keep your anxiety under control and soothe yourself. Respond to situations rather than react. Learn ways to distress, because tattooing can be really intense, physically, emotionally, mentally. It's intense. And sometimes it can get very personal with your clients. I mean, they can share some traumatic things. And it's also just it's tiring. It's tiring by the time you're done at the end of the day. And so it's easy to kind of maybe get anxious about things. Practice ways to soothe yourself after dealing with the clients and after handling your books and taxes and things like that. And then I'd say number 5, never, ever stop learning new ways. There's always more to learn, always another class, another book, another tattoo artist who's demonstrated something amazing that you can emulate. Don't get stuck in a rut. Having said all that, let's focus on the art. Let's hone our craft. Let's inspire and support each other. Let's stop being competitive and exclusive and fearful. Because you know what? I think there is room for everyone who is dedicated and determined and willing to do the work it takes to create a lifelong career in tattooing. My goal here and in the future is to educate, empower, and inspire, and yes, even entertain, because I do have a theatrical background. So here we go. Give 'em the old razzle dazzle, razzle dazzle 'em. Okay, that's enough of that. One of these days, I think I'm gonna have to put together a YouTube channel singing or something. Okay, anyway, side note. I think that it is time for things to change. I think that it's an incredible thing to have way more inclusive people that are listening to these conversations and that really care about respect and creating a new culture. And I want to be part of that. So I thank you for your precious time listening to this session. And I know you'll be delighted by all the other amazing speakers coming up over the next 2 weeks. They're amazing. They're so wonderful. And these conversations have transformed my life. So be sure and listen to as many of the episodes as you can. Remember, they're each available for 7 days. And share this event with any friends you might think would be excited or inspired. That would be super cool. And also, please follow the other speakers on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and Pinterest, because they're all so fabulous and talented. And lastly, feel free to reach out by email to me with any questions or feedback. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. To our listeners, your next interview will be delivered to your inbox. And don't forget, you have access for a full 7 days after each interview is released to listen. I look forward to joining you in our next session. Until then, be feisty, stay kind, and get creative.